Well, like the kids say, the ending of that game, the Fiesta Bowl between Miami and Ole Miss, was pure cinema. I was engaged that whole thing. I mean, what an electric game. The full body of work. The fourth quarter was the icing on the cake, don't get me wrong. But the full body of work of that game in its entirety was electric. It was entertaining. Miami is going back to the national championship. I mean, we knew whatever outcome we had from this game, it would be like, wow, pinch me. Like, this is actually happening. Ole Miss going to the national championship. Miami back to the promised land. And that's what it is. And the timing is perfect for these Canes because it just so happens to be the year that the national championship is taking place at Hard Rock Stadium, their home stadium. They haven't played there since November. Mario Cristobal made a major league reference. Like it feels like they've spent 2 months on the road because they have, and now they finally get to play a home game for the national championship. I'm very happy for these guys. But what impressed me so much about this game tonight, this Fiesta Bowl, was I felt like both teams just laid it all on the line tonight. And I know it can sound cliche at times, but you don't see that with every game. I mean, look at Indiana and Alabama. I mean, Alabama rolled over and died in the middle of the second quarter. Both these teams they face adversity, they face challenges, and both of them were so well versed and so well prepared when it came to facing adversity as a team, as a unit, that they both came together every time. I mean, look, Ole Miss has been facing adversity and external noise and drama since the middle of November when all the Lane Kiffin rumblings began. And then he ends up going to LSU, and you're facing that conversation for the entirety of the CFP. And you keep finding ways to win. You keep finding ways to emerge victorious. Miami, people counted you out after you lost to Louisville. People counted you out after you lost to Stanford. People didn't think you belonged in the CFP. There's no way in hell you're going to go into Kyle Field and beat Texas A&M. No, not with that atmosphere. There is no way you're going to beat Ohio State. No. Way too talented. You're 9.5-point dogs for a reason. Well, put both those results in your pipe and smoke it. And Miami had one more obstacle to go until they get to go back home. And that was the mighty Ole Miss Rebs tonight. And they pull off. Absolutely incredible. And so, as far as the strategy goes for these teams, it was clear what Miami wanted to do. They wanted to keep the ball out of Trinidad Chambliss' hands because he's the hottest quarterback. He's the hottest player in the league right now. I mean, you saw how that Ole Miss Rebels offensive unit performed in the second half against Georgia. They didn't want to be victims of that. And so Miami, their strategy was, let's just play hot potato. Let's keep the ball out of Ole Miss's hands. Let's just run it up at the time of possession. I mean, I feel like the time of possession was close, like 24-6, going into the end of the first half. Like, it was unreal. They were keeping the ball out of their hands. They're trying to keep Chambliss cold to the point to where he had to start doing warm-ups on the sideline. He had to start passing the ball around to just get the blood flowing again because, I mean, Miami was having 7-minute drives, 8-minute drives. They were just taking their sweet-ass time. And it worked. It was effective, but I had this feeling going into the second half of this game of how long are they going to be able to do this for? How long are they going to play keep away for? Until this Ole Miss offense really starts to get clicking. I mean, you saw Kawan Lacey pop off for that house call in the first half. And so I felt like it was just a matter of time until Caden Lee and Harrison Wallace got cooking. And that Ole Miss offensive machine started to click a little bit more in the second half, but they never found that same rhythm that they had against Georgia, nor did I expect them to, because Miami's defense is very talented, absolutely, but it's very well coached, and they throw confusing schemes at opponents all the time. They did the same with Ole Miss tonight, and you could tell that for the entire night, Chambliss and that offense was just out of rhythm. They got cooking sometimes at points, but it wasn't anything sustainable. Both teams had missed field goals. I mean, that was a factor tonight. You had the doink for Ole Miss, and Miami had a missed field goal. And Miami had 2 missed interceptions. And I look at those and I was like, man, if that's what costs them a national championship, that's gonna be absolutely devastating. That's something that you're going to have to live with forever. But this game didn't come down to that. You know what this game reminded me of was Chiefs-Bills in the AFC Divisional. It wasn't as much of an offensive shootout, but it just came down to somebody had to win and somebody had to lose here. Like I can't look at either one of these two teams and say, yeah, definitively, it was that mistake. It was that play call. It was the execution on that play that cost you this game. Somebody was going to have the ball at the wrong time and lose this game. And it was Ole Miss. Miami scored. Carson Beck ran it in, took up 31-27 with less than a minute to go. And Ole Miss had one timeout left. They simply didn't have enough time to make a drive down the field. And even Mario Cristobal said he's like he was scared shitless because he knows what Chambliss is capable of. But it just wasn't enough. And Miami was able to hold on. Miami also suffered injuries on both sides of the ball tonight. And so they overcame that. They overcame turnovers. They were looking at here that they lost a turnover battle, 1-0 tonight as well. So a lot to overcome. Missed interceptions, missed field goals. Miami still finds a way to pull this thing off. I will say, I do have somebody commenting over here. Mateo CDIL, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Saying it was Trinidad's fault because he threw to the corner of the end zone and didn't give the receiver a chance. On a last-second heave, I mean, you're just throwing that thing up there. It's a prayer. You're setting a prayer to the Lord, hoping that something happens, hoping you can pull off some Aaron Rodgers-type magic. More often than not, it's just not going to happen. And I also am hearing a lot about, well, pass interference should have been called on the last play of the game in the back of the end zone. They're never going to call that. They're going to swallow their whistle on that for any team in that instance, in that circumstance, because as a ref, the last thing you want to do, and again, there's exceptions out there for sure, especially in the SEC, but if you're a ref, the last thing you want to do is dictate the outcome of the game. And when you make that call, that's what you do. You give Ole Miss another chance. You bring them into field goal range at that point. You need to give them a much better shot to hit the end zone. And so, as a ref, as an official, you want to sustain the flow of the game. And especially in a crucial spot like that, when you could reverse the outcome of a game, you don't want to be the guy responsible for that. So, I, by no means, oppose the refs when it comes to not calling that last minute penalty, the penalty on that last play. That's they absolutely made the right decision there. I will say, what was interesting tonight was that Miami's pass rush was not nearly as effective as I was expecting it to be. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss only got hit once tonight. I was thinking they were going to be in the backfield a lot more. Ole Miss did a great job at picking up blocks and protecting Trinidad Chambliss, and as far as pass protection goes, as far as creating time for him to let the play develop, Ole Miss's offense did a great job against an extremely stingy Miami defense. I want to dive into some stats here, break that down a little bit here. We'll start on the winner's side. We'll start on Miami's side. Carson Beck was 23 for 37 for 268 passing yards. He had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Mark Fletcher, another one of the hottest players in college football right now. Know the name, Mark Fletcher. I expect him to be a second or third round running back when all said and done. His stock could even rise from there. 22 carries. He was a workhorse. He was a bell cow tonight. 133 rushing yards. And an incredible night. An absolute difference maker once again. 6 yards a carry over 22 carries. He ran physical. He ran hard. He ran angry again. And I love to see it. Keelan Marion, a surprising breakout star for Miami. I mean, I know we always look at Malachi Toney. We're going to talk about him in a minute. We always look at C.J. Daniels. But Keelan Marion, 7 receptions, 114 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. Had that one that he popped open, busted coverage. And I want to say that was the second quarter. Beautiful dime pass from Carson Beck as well. Carson Beck's spiral, too. It looks very sharp. All game tonight. He was consistent. He was on. He had a couple miscommunications here and there. You're going to get those. But for the most part, he looks spot on. All right. I got JB_21 asking me, how many carries did Mark Fletcher have in the second half? I don't have that exact data on me right now. I'm basing this off of ESPN stat breakdown, so I can't go by half. But I know that he had 22 for the entire game. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that completely. If you know of an app or something that I can use to look in more in-depth stats while I do these, though, please let me know. I'd really appreciate that. I'm always trying to get the deepest, most informative stats I possibly can, and break down splits. I love all that shit. But Malachi Toney, let's talk about him for a second. 5 receptions, 81 receiving yards, 16 yards reception. I know he's only a freshman. This kid is generational. He's twitchy. He's slippery. He's quick. He's hard to tackle. That 1 touchdown he had in the fourth quarter was unreal. You had 3 Ole Miss guys converging on him. He splits them all. They can't tackle him. Like he is that twitchy. And if he were to ever come down with that 1 ball on the sidelines that he caught with 1 hand, that was like that to me was like the Puka Nacua almost catch against the Falcons a few weeks ago. Like if he were to have ever come down with that, that would have been one of the best plays that we would have seen in college football this entire season. But he's an absolute baller. He's a gamer. There's some guys out there that you just know have the it factor at a young age. Malachi Toney is that guy. He is a playmaker with the ball in his hands. And I also want to shout out on defense, Jacoby Thomas. Absolute dog tonight. 5 total tackles, 5 solo tackles. I loved his post-game interview that he had as well. Pretty much just saying that he does it for his guys, man. He does it for his guys. When it's time for him to step up, he's going to do it for the team around him. And that speaks to the identity of this Miami team. It is so together. It is so tight-knit right now. They met each other at their lowest points when they faced adversity earlier in the season, losing to Louisville, losing to SMU. Carson Beck was down on himself. And guys like Mark Fletcher, Malachi Toney brought him back up again. And now they're on the mountaintop. And I want to talk about that for a second, about Carson Beck. I mean, his journey as a player here. Going from somebody who is pretty much forced out of Georgia. They didn't want him there anymore. They made that very clear. He goes to Miami, gets a complete restart. Now, he said when he was at Georgia, he kind of fell out of love with the game of football. And as somebody who loves the sport, like that's just very sad to me that can happen to somebody. But he goes to Miami, has to change the scenery, fits in with the culture, fits in with the offensive scheme, has great chemistry with Shannon Dawson, Miami's offensive coordinator, and it just clicks. And just watching him run that ball in tonight for that touchdown, and to just see the sheer emotion on his face, like it was just. It was so cool. It was unreal to see. It was a complete full circle moment. And so that's part of what I love about this sport, are moments like that. And then you got Mario Cristobal on the sideline when one of his assistants trying to hug him. He says, "Get the fuck off of me. We haven't won this thing yet." You've got Carson Beck's raw emotions, and then you've got Mario Cristobal's just sheer intensity. It was a quite interesting contrast. But that's Miami. Let's talk Ole Miss for a second. Trindad Chambliss really balled out in the second half. Just started to pull those rabbit out of the hat plays. He was 23 for 37 with 277 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Kawan Lacey, he was injured for part of this game. He had some hamstring issues. Was able to get it going again in the second half. He had 11 carries for 103 yards, 9.4 yards per carry. So just watching that running back duo, or that running back battle between Kawan Lacey and Mark Fletcher, that was just fucking awesome tonight. Deshaun Stribling, 5 receptions, 77 yards. Caden Lee, 5 receptions, 67 yards. Hey, Caden Lee, that guy just gets popped all the time. He got a couple licks against Georgia. He got a couple licks tonight. Malachi Tony got lit up at one point tonight, too, on that targeting no call. And he kept playing. Caden Lee got banged up a few times tonight against Georgia. He kept playing. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It was just it was that kind of game. These guys just left it all out on the field tonight. Daquan Wright, 3 receptions, 64 yards. Harrison Wallace, 4 receptions for 40 yards. So Trindad Chambliss really spread the wealth tonight. And for playing Miami's defense, he had a pretty good performance. But it was Miami who ended up having the last laugh tonight. I want to talk about Miami's third down efficiency for a second, because that was part of that strategy I was talking about in the first and second quarter of just playing keep away from Ole Miss. They just kept running it down to third down and converting and converting and converting. They converted 11 third downs tonight. That's unreal. The U was 11 for 19 on third down. That's unreal. Ole Miss was 2 for 10, and that's a big difference maker right there. That's execution right there. I know people are going to point to the doink, to the missed field goal. It would still be 31-30. We can play those theoretical games all day. It doesn't come down to one play. It comes down to your overall efficiency, your overall statistics, your overall collective execution as a team. And when you're 2 for 10 on third down, chances are things like a missed field goal are going to bite you in the ass, because that's the position that you put yourself in. Miami was also 2 for 2 on fourth down. So situational football. Miami was phenomenal. And that right there is a testament to great coaching. This is unreal. I have the final time of possession number for tonight. Miami had the ball for 41 minutes and 22 seconds. There's only 60 minutes in a football game. So Ole Miss had it for the remaining 18 minutes and 38 seconds. They played keep away this whole game because they knew how explosive Ole Miss was, and they limited Ole Miss's explosive plays. Yes, Kawan Lacey popped one off. Yes, Trindad Chambliss ended up having a passing touchdown in this game at one point. But compared to what Ole Miss was doing against Georgia, they kept the explosiveness down. They kept that offense in check. That was a huge key to victory for Miami tonight. Miami also had 10 penalties compared to Ole Miss's 4. So they had more penalties, they had more turnovers, and they still found a way to win this game. It was incredible. It was an awesome game to watch tonight. It was really a privilege because you never know with these games. I mean, sometimes they can be an absolute blowout. You know, we've seen a lot of disappointing CFP semifinal games in the past, but you get you get Ole Miss, a matchup that I forgot to look it up. I don't know if these two have even played in the past before. And such a weird converging of cultures as well. South Beach, Miami, Oxford, Mississippi. I've been to both places. I love both places dearly. I mean, South Beach is one of my favorite places to go to kick it. And it's like Vegas. What happens in South Beach stays in South Beach. That's that kind of vibe there. Oxford, Mississippi is one of my top 3 favorite cities in the world, only behind Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Lake Placid, New York, of course. And selfishly, I kind of want Ole Miss to win this thing. Just to see the whole Lane Kiffin storyline live on and see Ole Miss just continue to prove Lane Kiffin wrong, to prove why he should have stayed. But as a college football fan, it is awesome to see Miami get back because this is one of college football's vintage programs. I mean, you can go through it all. You know, Michael Irvin, Ray Lewis, Willis McGahee, the Seventh Floor Crew, G-Reg. If you know, you know. It's one of college football's iconic brands, and I love to see them back. I had another comment over here from JB_21. Felt like Ole Miss got away with a few holding calls throughout the game. That's gonna happen. It happened on both sides tonight. I will say not every game has been officiated cleanly. I thought that tonight's was officiated pretty cleanly. I mean, I think that they got that targeting call wrong. I will say that was absolutely targeting on Malachi Toney. It should have led to an ejection. Outside of that, I thought that tonight was pretty cleanly, pretty evenly officiated. So shout out to the officials, just knowing when to call penalties and knowing when to swallow their whistles and just let the players play. There were a lot of tough calls tonight, and like I said, when you're an official, you got to mediate the game. You got to orchestrate the flow. You don't want to be the person that stands in the way of a result or dictates a result yourself. But man, this thing was a privilege to watch tonight. Miami, Ole Miss, coming down to the final minute. What a privilege this thing was to watch. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comment section below. I'm so impressed with this Miami team. Just when people keep telling them they can't do something, they turn around and say, "Watch me." And that is the spirit of a true underdog and the spirit of a championship team. And honestly, selfishly as well, I would love to see Mario Cristobal match up with his former team, the Oregon Ducks, in the national championship. I feel like Indiana is going to win tomorrow night, but I would love to see the Mario Cristobal revenge game, as everyone likes to call it. Let me know what y'all think about this game in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night.